Hello folks, I hope you're finding creative things to do to keep your sanity. I'm making a Paleolithic goddess here. They're normally much smaller than this, the ones I make, and the ones that for tens of thousands of years Paleolithic people made. They were this size, they fitted in your hand. Very wonderful little objects. They just feel so comforting and empowering somehow, that I find. So I'm for an exhibition which is going to happen at some point, perhaps like the Olympics, it'll happen next year. I'm making a life-size one, which has been a wonderful experience. There's a wooden framework, Hessian over that, and then the first layer of lime mortar, which is just ground up limestone with sand. Very beautiful material to work with. And this second layer is the addition of hemp fibres, which are these. So they're mostly just like chopped up straw or whatever, and every now and then you get, I saw some there that's disappeared now, these hairy little like woolly bits in it, which are very good at holding it together. This is called hempcrete. You might have heard it, it's very trendy, but it's also very good, especially if you make it my way, which is a very wet way. A lot of people make it incredibly dry, and you have to make a framework, a box, and then bang it in, and then when you take the box off, it often hasn't worked that well because it's too dry. Don't know why they do that, but as a sculptor, I suppose I try things out. I'm always looking at new ways of doing things, than inquiring and being curious and trying things out. So the way I've made it is in my opinion, much better. But the first thing I've got to do, which hopefully is a bit more interesting than watching paint dry, is put some water on this surface so that it's all coming out. Why you're not coming out? Stop. It should be on start. There we go. Even more boring than watching paint dry, watching water not even come out, let alone dry. But there you go. Now it's coming out. So this is just making sure that it doesn't dry too quickly and crack, because in this warm weather we've got now, there is a potential for that to happen. So I'm just giving it some moisture, and when I've done a bit, I'll then show you the hempcrete. This is another sculpture, you've probably been looking at that, I'm not paying attention, but that's made out of a solid oak tree. There's a 4.5 minute video of Peter Boyd carving the female form, which has got good soundtrack and things, and tells you how I went through the process of starting with a big tree and ending up with a beautiful sculpture. You bored yet with watching paint dry, water dry? Sounds a bit like a duck. Right, I think, look at that, you know, it's almost a musical instrument. So, hempcrete. This is called a hawk. I don't know why, but that's what it's called. This is called a trowel, and this is hempcrete. See, it holds together pretty well the way I make it. Lots of people would make it and it would just be like muesli or something. I don't know if you can see there's little fibres in it that are holding it together pretty well. That's pretty impressive. That's actually just holding there, and not falling not just, you know, if it was just cement mortar, it wouldn't have done that. So I'm going to now work on the head and build up a bit of the features of the face, but I'm not going to do it too much because I don't want to make, sometimes less is more with sculpture, and you can just get the gist of something. See, in this face, I think you can see that, I've actually got eyelids and lips and nostrils and everything, and I think it fits with this one. It's not finished yet, but because it is more more figurative, whereas with this one it's more symbolic. So look at that, it just stays on, and yeah, it's going to do that. And I can just spread it around, and I've got lots of time. I could even come back tomorrow and work on this, because that's one of the wonderful things about lime rather than cement, is that it's slower to cure. If you're a, you know, time is money person, then that's a terrible thing, because you want to get that house built so you can build another one and all that sort of stuff. But if you're not, then you end up with a much better result using the old-fashioned way, which also uses less, makes less pollution, less energy is needed to make lime rather than cement mortar. It's a lower temperature, so it's better. You see, and that's just staying on there, and I can gradually build up. I don't actually need the hawk. I was just showing you that I had knowledge of this stuff. The silly names things get called. Well, silly is a judgment, not an observation, so it's not really silly. Just I don't know why it was called that, so I'm calling it silly. The rantings of the sculptor. See, normally people like me work on our own, and nobody knows that we're just talking away to ourselves as we're doing this stuff and saying silly things. Musing. I hope it's amusing. See, there's a nose. I'm going to build a bit of a nose, but not too much. So I think mostly what I'm going to do to start with is just get a covering all over the previous layer, so, and then I can build it up. Mostly I work the other way, taking away the finished piece is already there, and what I'm doing is revealing it, whereas this way I'm building it up, which is actually an awful lot easier. You see, this is taking away, that arm was there inside the tree, and when I cut it out, if I cut the wrong place, I wouldn't have been able to have an arm there. It would have to have been where, you know, where it was left. That was a side branch coming out there. Back to hempcrete. So I'm just giving it a nice smooth layer. I'm enjoying this. This is working really well. It's not sometimes, you know, your materials really hamper you, and it's hard to concentrate on being creative because you're just struggling to. I worked with a CNC machine recently, and it was a bit like that there, because I wasn't used to it. I struggled to stay creative because the machine was going a bit mad. Sometimes it worked. There's a nice. I'm sort of giving her quite round features, really. Although we probably looked exactly the same Paleolithic times. Well, not exactly, but we haven't. Apparently, I think they say our jaws have got smaller. So let's give her a big jaw, because she was hunter-gathering and having to chew. There wasn't that much lettuce in the wild forest, and what there was got eaten by the giant aurochs and the woolly mammoths, probably. So there wasn't, you know, you had to grab what you could, and it was often, I imagine, pretty chewy. But they had the wonder of fire, which meant they could store food, they could cook food that was not good. They could keep away the wild beasties at night and all that sort of thing. So that, yeah, Paleolithic times are what we were made for, really. So this is a little bit of a reminder of the beginning of our journey, and this last few steps that we've taken into this modern world. We should be aware that they're not everything, and I think so maybe some of the things that we left behind we'd quite like to get back to, like living in smaller groups. I think 140 people was the sort of tribal size, the size of a human herd that we're designed to be able to connect as social animals with that number of people. More than that, we just get very stressed because we don't really know who they are and what their needs are, and whether they're okay with us, whether we're invading their territory and all that stuff. So now we're getting, with this enforced isolation, and we're getting to know our immediate neighbours, and that's actually very very healthy for us, very nice for us, reassuring for us. I hope it is for you. It's just for me. So I've nearly finished getting a nice, fresh, soft, movable layer on her face, and then I'll be able to start working with more of the features like the eyebrows, and sort of saying the maybe quite a wide, strong jaw. And it's quite a challenge, but sometimes you can, even without really figurative carvings, sculptures, you can still get an impression, a feeling of like that she's angry or benevolent or amused. And as you're doing a face, you'll see different emotions coming, because we're so good at, it's very important for us as social animals to be able to see the emotions that people are expressing and respond to them. I'll work down there a bit now. And then I think you'll have had long enough interesting diversion and learning something new, which is what I'm hoping you'll get from this. A bit of a break from your everyday boring or challenging time. If you might be a health worker and you actually want to think about something else, in which case I apologise if I've mentioned subjects you've had enough of and you need to just get away from. But obviously this is also very useful in looking at something completely different and something that's developing and growing, and I'll show you later on how it's coming on. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.